My guest today is Brittany Arnett, founder of ARAME, a luxury oral care brand reimagining brushing your teeth as an everyday luxury instead of a chore. Today, she's telling us all about how she went from being a luxury cosmetics buyer and a Harvard MBA to creating the chicest and most luxurious line of toothpaste you've ever experienced. ARAME combines efficacy, clean sourcing, and beautiful packaging to help people build better, healthier habits. Plus, I get to ask her my most burning question about oral care, which is, what's the truth about fluoride? Let's get comfy. Before Rame, you were a luxury cosmetics buyer, which sounds like a dream job. What was that like?
It was definitely a dream job. I absolutely loved it. It's kind of the perfect job for anyone who likes both analytical and creative pursuits. So it's very analytical because it's very data driven and customer obsessed, which you have to be all the time, very data driven, but then also creative because you really need to understand how to approach your customer, marketing, new brands, new products, always searching for new things to have in your store. And I think buying in general is just a very little known job function beyond like Rachel Green and Friends. We know that. But buying in real life is really wanting to get the right products to the right customers at the right times and in the right quantities. So you really have to think about all of those analytical and creative things to bring it together. And it's basically like running your own business, but doing it under a department store or a brand or something like that. So that's exactly what I did as a beauty buyer. I was running our own segment of the beauty business, managing all of the brands, launching new products, and it was so much fun.
Amazing. So you said that your brand started from a very specific moment. You loved your skincare routine, but felt like brushing your teeth was like such a chore. So what clicked that you should start a new brand that made it a little bit more luxurious?
Yeah, well, in my beauty buying days, I was obviously trying tons of products every single day, and I had curated this amazing skincare routine. I had 9 steps in my routine. I loved all of the products. I spent so much time and money on all of those products. And I felt like as a result, I was taking such good care of my skin, and I loved doing it every day. It was like a little self-care moment. But then with oral care, I look at my toothpaste, and I was like, why is this not the same type of experience? And it isn't from start to finish. Like you walk into a CVS to buy your toothpaste, it's not the same as walking into a Sephora or Ulta or even a department store to buy a new beauty product. You bring it home, you don't have that same kind of fun unboxing experience and using the products in the same way. And then as a result, my oral care suffered. Like my teeth were yellow, I had tons of plaque. Every few years, I would get cavities, and I just wasn't taking great care of my teeth. And I felt like the products were a big part of that because I wasn't excited to use the products. I wasn't using them to the best of my ability and very consistently. And I just felt like there was a really big opportunity there to treat oral care the same way that we treat our skincare.
Yeah, I think that's so smart. I also read that you have a Harvard MBA, which is incredible. So, how did your combination of a Harvard MBA and a buying background in legacy beauty, how did the combination of those two shape the way that you built your brand?
It Both of them definitely helped for sure in different ways and also in combined ways. I think when you're a buyer, you have to have a point of view when it comes to running and building your business and understanding your customer and being very data forward. And then in school, getting my MBA, we had, all those same kind of analytical understandings that you had to really have when it came to running a business or starting a brand or being a founder. I would say though that as part of my felt like I got a lot of pushback for being in the consumer space that I obviously didn't get when I was a buyer because we're all consumer obsessed. So that was something that was very new to me, and I had to become very clear on exactly what I wanted my brand to be and my positioning and what the products were and why they should exist in the market. So because I faced a lot of that pushback, I think I gained a lot of intentionality and a lot of confidence that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So I think that was really great. And then ultimately helped me build my brand and have a really clear mindset and a really strong point of view when it came to building a RAIM.
Did your buying background shape the way you designed your packaging?
Yes, it definitely did. I think when it comes to looking at shelf in a retail space, wanting packaging that's eye-catching is important for sure, but also wanting something that will kind of pique the customer interest. So our toothpaste isn't actually in a tube like most toothpaste. It's in a pump and it's in an airless pump, so it doesn't introduce bacteria into the pump. But I just wanted, again, that like fun form factor to get people to think like, this is different than what I'm used to. And then get customers in the mindset that oral care can be just like skincare. And putting it in skincare packaging was kind of my way of doing that as well.
Love that. Why do you think oral care has always been treated as like purely clinical and functional rather than aspirational?
That is a great question because it's so true. We definitely treat oral care extremely clinically and not like it's fun at all. I think a part of it is because it is something we just so purely have to do that we treat it like a chore, very similarly to like doing laundry or washing dishes. It's just like, it's something we have to do. So we have to distill it down to the absolute must like functional benefit of oral care, which is why it's so clinical. But with something like skincare, when it's not something you necessarily have to do, we view it as something you get to do. So we build in that like aspirational moment, that self care moment out of it and make it really beautiful and luxurious. But I think that is kind of a detriment in oral care where we're not necessarily viewing it as something that can be aspirational. So we're not building out those rituals, we're not building out that routine, we're not making it super luxurious. And therefore, our oral health is actually suffering because we're not doing that routine consistently every day the same way that we might be doing with our skincare.
How do you approach your ingredient sourcing and formulation differently than the legacy brands do?
Well, I'm not totally sure on how they, of course, approach their formulation, but when I started out with really thinking through what I wanted the formula to be for our two products, I wanted to understand all of the ingredients in popular toothpaste and why they exist and what their benefit is. And I discovered that a lot of these ingredients have absolutely no oral benefit, but actually have linkages to harmful conditions in the body and can actually even counteract those oral benefits that do exist in the ingredient profile. So I just wanted to formulate products that have none of those kind of harmful ingredients. And I think clean is an overused word in beauty for sure, but cleaner ingredients do exist, and we can very easily swap out these kind of harmful ingredients that exist in toothpaste formulations with cleaner alternatives that still provide an oral health benefit. So that way they are super high quality and super effective. And then otherwise, other than that, and like really wanting it to be clean, we really also source very high quality ingredients and we manufacture our products in the US, which is something that was important to me just because I wanted to really have control over the regulation process and understanding how ingredients are stored, how the products are made, how the products are stored, and the packaging is stored at our facility. So that is all under pretty heavy FDA regulation because they not only manufacture cosmetic products, but they also manufacture over the counter drug products. So they have really high quality standards when it comes to formulating products, which is something that we have as well.
Wow, that's great. I am so curious because in the jewelry space, I'm kind of up against these marketing buzzwords and kind of misinformation. You know, there's words for us like hypoallergenic and nickel free that kind of muddy the water when educating our customers, and the social perception around some of these words is different than like the reality of what actually works for sensitive ears. So I'm so curious in the oral space, what is your stance on like the buzzy ingredients like fluoride, and what is the reality of that as an ingredient versus like the public perception of it?
Well, as you know, I am very passionate about this topic for sure, and it's become a very hot topic in recent years. Totally. So, fluoride is a great ingredient. It's one that is heavily studied, one we've been using for decades. And if you are highly cavity prone, something that you definitely should have in your toothpaste. However, there are alternatives to fluoride if people are seeking other alternatives to fluoride. And some people might experience some perioral dermatitis from fluoride or fluorosis, or they just want an alternative. And one of these great ingredients is called nanohydroxyapatite, which is kind of another buzzy ingredient term because it's a fluoride replacement. So, nanohydroxyapatite is an ingredient that was created originally by NASA to help prevent bone density loss in astronauts' teeth back in the 1970s. Then it was taken under patent protection by a Japanese company and it became the gold standard for toothpaste in Japan for around 30 or so years before it like kind of left that patent protection and people were able to start using the ingredient in toothpaste. But the thing with nanohydroxyapatite is it has to be in a very specific percentage and particle shape in order for it to be considered effective. And so a lot of toothpaste brands will claim that they use nanohydroxyapatite, but they might not use the effective percentage and they might not use the right size, or they might use micro hydroxyapatite, which is a larger particle size than nano. So all of those things are very important when it comes to picking and choosing what fluoride alternative toothpaste you're going to use. So for us, we use a 5% nano hydroxyapatite, pure nano hydroxyapatite. We don't fill with anything else. It's a clinically effective percentage, and we use the effective and safe particle size, which is rod shaped. So all of these things are very important to know and to seek out when you're searching for a fluoride alternative toothpaste. And if you find that a toothpaste brand isn't forthcoming with that information, it might be that they're hiding something, and I would put a little more scrutiny to
Wow, that is so fascinating. I never knew
it.
the history of that ingredient and I see it everywhere now. So yeah, I love that. Thank you for that information.
Of course.
So oral care has obviously been dominated by some legacy giants. How do you think about like creating your wedge in a category like that?
Yeah, that's such a great question, and it's something I obviously get all the time because obviously oral care is dominated by two major players. So I think of it less so as wanting to take market share from those two players and more so as growing the category as a whole. And to kind of throw numbers at it a little bit, the US oral care market is valued right now at around $10 billion, which obviously is huge, and 90% of that market is dominated by the two players that we know very well. But if we look at US prestige beauty, and this is just prestige beauty, not mass beauty, like kind of that luxury beauty where you have a very particular type of customer, way less kind of diversity in customer when it comes compared to oral care, for example, that market is valued at 35 billion, so 3.5 times the size of the oral care market. And that just really shows the opportunity that oral care has because we are not really utilizing oral care to our maximum benefit. We're not using all the products that we probably should be. We know the dentists probably are, but we as average consumers aren't. And so I see it less as wanting to take market share from those big incumbent players and more so as growing the category as a whole and seeing more of that opportunity. And I kind of welcome competitors in the space all the time. I have fellow founders I know that are also in the oral care space, and I always say to them, like, we have to do this together. We have to educate the customers. We have to grow the category as a whole because we need to take better care of our teeth. And a big way of doing that is to start prioritizing oral care and viewing it as something to kind of build out rather than just like, oh, I have to brush my teeth before I go to bed every night.
Yeah. And you mentioned educating the customers. I know from my experience with Tiny Lux that education is one of the hardest aspects of marketing. When you're in the health and wellness space and you're trying to explain your product functionality, it can be really hard to educate consumers without overwhelming them. So how do you think about educating your customers?
A lot of our education comes from social media, mostly because it's a great place to kind of, in small sound bits, educate customers repeatedly without overwhelming them, just to your point, because there's so much to educate customers on. Like, it's like basically a biology history lesson all in one, product lesson, ingredient lesson, chemistry, all of that. So for us, social media is so important. I have my own kind of TikTok account as a founder. I'm a very forward-facing founder on social medias. And we also have multiple social platforms where we try to really educate our customers as much as possible in different ways. So that way their interest is piqued, but they're also becoming more educated consumers and can make better product decisions for themselves as a result. So that's a really big piece of our puzzle.
You're still early, you're 6 months in. What's some of the feedback that you're getting like right away from customers that makes you feel like this isn't just a niche idea, this is something that the market's ready for? Or like what's some feedback that is making you realize that customers still aren't understanding the benefits or the difference?
Yeah, well, we get tons of great early feedback. And I also like to say that like our customers at this stage are absolutely the best because like they're the early adopters. They're willing to try something new and take a risk because they probably have the same pain points when it comes to their oral care as I had in those early days before starting ARAME. So a lot of our customer feedback has been something along the lines of I look forward to brushing my teeth every day, or I'm excited to brush my teeth every day. And for me, I'm like, great, that's exactly what my goal was, what I want to do. I want people to be excited to do something that we otherwise always felt like was such a chore in our day-to-day routine. And that's when I know I'm doing my job. I think in general, though, customers kind of have this distrust around oral care in general. I think a lot of people maybe distrust their dentist, or a lot of people kind of distrust the incumbent oral care brands because they say they're whitening and they never feel like they're whitening, or they never feel like they're working and they still get cavities. But a big piece of that is because we're not taking care of our teeth the same way that we should be. And again, those products are not exciting to use. So we're not using them every day and we're not taking care of our teeth in those ways. So I think that building that trust with customers is also so important with us. And so educating them and also kind of talking to customers as much as possible on those pieces that they maybe don't trust as much, that they're questioning a lot, are all very important for us.
Yeah, I definitely think being founder forward can help get over that level of trust and healthy skepticism because you're putting your face and your entire self behind the brand. So I
Totally.
think that's great. I also, to pivot away from the sort of functionality of the product, something that's really buzzy right now is kind of world building and building a whole world of your brand. And you've shared that your Assyrian heritage has really inspired all of your branding with Areem. Can you share how that cultural foundation shows up in the brand?
Yeah, I would love to. So, for context, I'm Assyrian, but more specifically Aramean, and it's very similar to Armenian. It's kind of rooted in the ancient Middle East, Mesopotamia, Babylon, Assyria. If we think back to like middle school and we learned about all these things, but then also rooted in Orthodox Christian faith. So, there's a lot of like nuance, history, culture. And when I was growing up, I really just resented that history and culture because it was so complex and so difficult to explain to other people. And I wish I was just like Italian, or I wish I was just Jewish and I could just say it and people would understand, and like that would be it. And as I grew up, I really found and discovered the beauty in my culture, the nuance, the rich cultural history, and just knew how beautifully wholesome it is, and really wanted to share that more with the world. I felt like it was almost like my duty to share it more with the world. So that's really the idea for the brand name being Arame. So Arame is inspired by a region in ancient Mesopotamia, Aram, and its people, the Arameans, which is what I am. And then even our logo, which is the Alaf above our brand name, is the letter A in their language, Aramaic. So it's all tied in together. But then you also see kind of those desert tones, those neutrals, the glyph patterns kind of snuck in here and there, which really just ties in our brand and at least allows us to be rooted in one kind of common set of values and brand identity and understanding whenever we're making new decisions, because we want to be consistent and again present that world for our customers, but then also kind of give us that North Star when we're making decisions going forward too.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Do you feel like your customers are connecting more with that side of the story or more with, say, the functionality, or is it like everything works together?
I think definitely everything works together. If anything, the cultural side of the story and the brand name piques a lot of interest initially, but if the products are not what customers are looking for, if they don't work, that they're not going to return. So for me, it's definitely like product focused first. The brand story and brand identity is honestly better for us as a brand to again keep that North Star, keep our values aligned. And we take the values very seriously, not just in terms of like how we want the brand to be presented, but how we want to treat our customers, how we want to treat our employees, really emphasizing tradition, ritual, family values, all of those things that were such a big part of my culture growing up. So for that, it's been so great as like a founder and building a brand and building a business that will hopefully have many employees one day. But for our customers, I think they connect to it, but at the end of the day, they just love that the products work for them. And that's the most important for sure.
Yeah. So now I want to do some founder rapid fire. As you're building, what is one metric that you care about more than revenue?
Definitely retention. I think getting customers coming back with something like a toothpaste every few months is very important for me, but I also just really would love a loyal kind of core customer fan base rather than just trying to grow at all costs and have people try it once and never come back again.
Yeah, I agree. When I was building Tiny Lux, I was more excited when I saw that it was someone's second purchase than when it was someone's first, because like that means they liked it and it's working.
Totally, I agree.
What is one product decision that you would make the same way every time, even if it made everything with product development take longer?
It is definitely the quality in ingredient sourcing, but then also the testing and the manufacturing process. And it took so long. There was so much involved. Like even one of our ingredients had to be special made to order, and it took 6 months to make. So that in itself is like takes very long, but is very important to me because I want the products to be super high quality and the like most effective for our customers.
What is the one word or one phrase that you want people to associate with ARAME?
I think it would be chic. And I probably overuse chic all the time, but we're gonna stick with it.
I love that because no one else is doing that in the oral care space.
Mhm.
What is your number one priority for 2026 as the founder?
For me, I think it would be to get as many people to know about the brand name as possible. And I don't even need them to necessarily buy our brand, but I want them to know what ARAME is, what it stands for, what we sell, and just get familiarized with the brand because hopefully in the years to come, we can grow in a way that's very thoughtful and intentional, and people can resonate with us in a more deep way.
So you don't have to share, but do you have any other products in development?
We do, and I do overly share it all the time, which is our mouthwash that we're currently working on that I'm very excited about. We just got our second samples in, and so hopefully it will launch in early 2027. But with beauty timelines, things always just take a little bit longer than you would like them to. But I'm very excited about it, and it's going to be such a great product.
And one more question, and again, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but are you making any hires this year?
Not that I know of as of yet, but definitely trying to be small and scrappy. So, of the hires, we start out with contract hires to begin with. And our team right now is kind of a lot of amazing, incredible women who have started their own side businesses and side hustles that have turned into full businesses. And it's just been like really great to work with them because we're all building our businesses together and working together. So, probably more kind of side contractor work to start with. But for now, it's a lot of me and a lot of me doing everything, which is its own struggle and challenge.
Yeah, it's the best and the worst to do it that way.
Yeah.
It's- Thank you so much, Brittany. This was like so fascinating. I loved hearing all about the ingredients. I will definitely be a customer. I'm very excited to try it. Where can everyone find you and where can everyone find Aram?
You can follow us. We're at Arame Care on TikTok and Instagram, and you can shop us online, aramecare.com.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
This was great.